Chris Lighty had it all.
He was the Michael Jordan of music management.
But what do
I don't believe he just knocked himself off like that.
I can't believe that neither.
I definitely believe that my brother was murdered.
I don't think Chris killed himself. I don't believe that.
You think that was a
Jimmy Henchman never liked Chris Lighty.
He owed Jimmy Henchman some money.
Who wanted to be like Chris Lighty? Jimmy Henchman?
Puff can't stand Tupac. It don't take a rocket scientist to figure this out.
Don't you think you just shoot somebody 5 times?
Diddy is allegedly involved D in the murder of 50 Cent's manager Chris Lighty. Not only did he have previous free CS with his wife, but there's a lot of other evidence I'll provide you guys, and the rabbit hole goes deep. Even 50C knew something wasn't right about his murder.
Because you know they both did hit.
Right.
Both Stout and Puff.
Okay, yes, they
They fucked the Veronica, the girl that Chris was married.
Whoa, this is awkward. We did not know that.
So I'm sitting there like,
Wait.
So not only did he sleep with Chris's future wife, but he was there at the wedding. On top of that, in his will, everything was left to his wife. This is the cover of Chris Lighty's will, except for a fund set aside for his children. It says if he is survived by his wife, quote, I give my entire residuary estate, real and personal, to her, end quote.
He committed suicide.
I don't believe that. I don't believe he killed himself.
So what do you believe? Because you hired an investigator?
Yeah, I had investigators for it because I didn't.
My sources confirmed to me that at the request of Chris Lighty's grieving mother, superstar artist 50 Cent has brought in a high-powered team to investigate the hip-hop mogul's death.
Not like I spoke to him right before.
The day? The same day or the day before you?
The night before, like it was like we was talking on the FaceTime. It's long distance. I was in Germany at some electronics convention. When I'm talking to him, he's like, yeah, real soft-spoken because he, wasn't feeling good. Shorty came in and said, you on the phone? She was real mad, like, what the fuck? And I was like, we laughed at what was going on. And after he said, yo, I'll call you back. And it was funny to us because we didn't really, at that point, he wasn't gone. You know what I'm saying? It was just something to laugh at. Like, he just got some shit going on at the house.
Chris Lighty was loved by so many celebrities, and he was a really good guy, and the details of the day he passed are very mysterious. Supposedly, he had an argument with his wife Veronica, then he called his accountant, and then he walked out to his patio of their apartment, and then offed himself with it. Then Veronica called the police, and the first person on the scene was actually Veronica's ex-husband. When the police got there, not only did they just take her word for it, they didn't even test Veronica or the ex-husband for gunshot residue.
You look at it and you go, wait, this don't feel right.
So you think that she had it done? But what do you
I don't believe he just knocked himself off like that.
I can't believe that neither. Yeah. Sorry, like I know this is a touching point for both of us.
Yeah.
The cause of death, clear as a gunshot wound to the head. The manner of death, accident, suicide, or homicide, still is pending till all those tests are done.
Another rumor is that during their separation, Chris Lighty got a woman pregnant named Capricorn Clark, who happens to be, guess what, Diddy's personal assistant, who right after Chris's funeral, she got fired. Diddy was sleeping with his assistant at the time, and this assistant Cap was actually Veronica Chris Lee's wife's best friend. So Chris was around them for sure, not saying that anything is true, but if you were sleeping with Diddy's assistant, well, he would definitely not like that. He's very possessive over his women, as you know. When Cassie and him were split, and she tried to date Kid Psy, he allegedly set Kid Psy's car on fire, and it blew up, and that has been confirmed by Kid Psy himself recently. Capricorn Clark came on Twitter and basically called Diddy a devil, if you guys want to read their tweets.
Can't wrap my head around the idea of him shooting himself, but I don't believe that. Just because my personal interactions with him, and it's never gave an indication that was even possible. Like, the first thing I see is he owes $5 million, and he doesn't owe $5 million.
Now, sources also tell me that Lighty was not deep in a bottomless financial hole and that he had just secured a world tour for 50 Cent for next year, which would have brought him millions of dollars.
None of it made any sense to me, because of that. And then all of the unanswered questions, whenever you're in the gray areas because something ain't really right.
By the way, Chris's wife has not done a public interview in 12 years since his passing. She also refused to cooperate with law enforcement about the investigation. She's not on social media, and nobody's written anything about her in 10 years. And anybody close to Chris actually said that she was not a very loving wife.
I'm not gonna lie, shit fucking hurt, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, Chris sent me an email in my BlackBerry and bro was like, yo, I'm proud of you. Did Chris kill himself because you can't believe it? I don't want to believe it. It won't allow, what we know of Chris won't allow us to accept that possible reality. I don't have the answer for that, but I'm gonna leave you with that. You can take that and walk with it and figure out what it is that you think I might be saying. But what I am saying is there ain't no statute of limitation to a murder neither. I ain't gonna stop till I get to the bottom.
Now another music executive, also offed himself named Shakir Stewart, he allegedly smashed a chair over his head during an argument because he was supposedly dating Kim Porter. And you know how Diddy feels when other men come into the lives of the women that he sleeps with, so two music executives both delete themselves, and both of the women they were with Diddy slept with. Now here's how things tied back to Diddy and his associate Jimmy Henchman, who was a former cocaine kingpin and a big boss in the city. So if Diddy wanted anything done in the city, Jimmy Henchman can handle it by force with his goons. Diddy hates 50 Cent, but Jimmy Henchman hated 50 Cent unit, and Chris Lighty and Jimmy Henchman used to manage the game.
The poison in that was Jimmy Henchman.
You think that was
Jimmy Henchman never liked Chris Lighty. He never liked Chris Lighty.
One day, G-Unit members Tony Yayo and Lodi Mack noticed Jimmy Henchman's 14-year-old son walking to work to his dad. The guys decided to deliver a few words to the game's manager. When the thugs asked Jimmy's son how old he was, and he replied saying 14, Yayo responded with, "I don't give a f*** how old you are." Czar Entertainment then backhanded him across the face so that his head hit the wall. Naturally, he recounted this incident to his dad, and as a result, both were arrested. Mack was sentenced to 2 years in prison, and Tony was sentenced to only 10 days of community service. That's because Lodi took responsibility for harming the teenager.
It's also been said that Chris Lighty smacked Jimmy Henchman across the face, and ever since then he's been trying to get him back. Jimmy Henchman started Czar Entertainment to manage artists because he wanted to be just like Chris Lighty, and Chris knew all the celebrities. He's been to tons of Diddy parties. He knew a lot of information, and it wouldn't be the first time that Diddy paid Jimmy Henchman to try to take someone out.
Was a pillar of hip-hop. Chris Lighty. Who wanted to be like Chris Lighty? Jimmy Henchman.
Now Jimmy Henchman is serving a life sentence, not just for putting hits on people, but for transporting cocaine coast to coast through musical equipment. Now during his trial, one of his previous associates came forward and said that Jimmy actually ordered a previous hit on Chris Lighty.
Familiar with a company called Violator Records? I am. What is Violator Records? It's a company similar to Roseman's. It's a management. It was ran by Mona Scott and Chris Lighty. During that time period, did there come a time when you spoke to Grant about an act of violence relating to Violator Records? Yes. He told me that he had just put a couple of shots into, I guess there was like a glass partition or awning at the Violator office.
So Jimmy ordered shots to ring up Violator Records to send a message to Chris Lighty.
Grant tell you anything about whether he was going to be compensated for the shooting? He said Jimmy was going to give him a half a kilo of cocaine. Did there come a time when you spoke to Jimmy about action he wanted to take against Chris Lighty? Chris had some dude that was supposed to be allegedly a friend of his, and he had told Jimmy he'll give him an address of where him and Chris was meeting at. He said, but just don't kill him.
So Chris even had snitches in his own camp telling Jimmy where he was going to be so that he can get some hits off on him.
So what did Jimmy tell you, if anything, he wanted to do? Said he just wanted to give Chris a leg shot. One night he hit me up on the BlackBerry and was like, yo, light-skinned dude gonna be at this restaurant in Midtown somewhere in Manhattan. He said, see if you can get somebody to come through and handle that. Did you know who he meant when he said light-skinned dude? Yeah, Chris Lighty.
So just from these court documents, you can see that Jimmy attempted multiple times to try to shoot up Chris. It seemed that Diddy learned a lot of his negative ways from Jimmy Henchman, because when he wanted to strong-arm artists to do what he wanted, he would always threaten him to get his way. Another person that Diddy and Jimmy did not like was Tupac Guess, who was at the studio when Tupac was set up and got shot and robbed both of them.
Real dark and murky out in the world. You know what I'm saying, right now? And
You think you shoot somebody 5 times, you should kill them? That's what I think. So that's all y'all ended up doing was my clothes, man. I was out the hospital 24 hours. I know you heard about me.
And I know from what Big was telling me that he knew Pac and Puff hated each other. Pac told Big not to f with him.
So Tupac warned Biggie not to sign with Bad Boy and that Puffy would rob him, and Biggie went back and told Puffy that.
He told me Puff was gonna rob me. Puff was shiesty.
Police say controversial rap star Tupac Shakur was entering the street-level lobby of an 8th-floor recording studio near New York's Times Square after midnight when 3 robbers confronted him and his friends.
They ordered him to the floor. Tupac resisted. He was shot numerous times.
Tupac was there to get robbed. He owed Jimmy Henchman some money. He was refusing to pay Jimmy Henchman some money, so Jimmy Henchman said he could work it off by doing an album, by doing a song with Little Sean or whatever. Andre Harrell can't stand Tupac. Puff can't stand Tupac. What do you think the conversation with Jimmy Henchman, Andre Harrell, and Puff in that office when they know Tupac is coming up there? I'm about to straighten this little nigga out. He gonna stop talking reckless to me. I got somebody that's gonna tighten this up. It don't take a rocket scientist to figure this shit out. Zip and Jimmy Henchman was like this. Jimmy Henchman knew a lot of people. Big and them didn't even know that Puff was in the damn studio. Why you ain't stopped by the studio and holler at him?
Before I got shot, he knew the nigga was shot me, and he was like, "Pop, don't hang around this." We walked in with the nigga that shot that ended up shooting me. He's like, "Pop, don't fuck with this," because I knew the nigga too. He was my co-defendant. And I was like, "What you mean?" He's like, "I'll talk to you about it later." And we didn't talk. The next time I saw him was at the studio where I got shot. So I knew he knew what happened. So I was like, "Biggie, what?"
So even though Diddy and Jimmy Henchman set up the robbery on Tupac that led to him getting shot, Biggie actually warned Tupac about who he was hanging around with, which Tupac said was his co-defendant. And this guy is Han Jack, who was also there when they both got arrested for saying a woman in grape. Haitian Jack was much like Tupac's unofficial manager. They went everywhere together, did everything together, and this was one crazy gangster he used to rob drug dealers for a living, and whatever he wanted he just took all the way to the top. He's the only person that Henchman them had automatically done CU. They was beefing or whatever. Reminder that everything being said and seen here today is supposed to be alleged, and nothing has been proven fact, but Chris Lighty's wife, nobody has heard of her, and nobody knows anything that's going on with her for a long time. Jimmy Henchman has been known to put out hits on people to scare them. And if Chris Lighty knew everything that he knew when it comes to Diddy and Jimmy and all the underlines of the business, who knows what reason they would have to take him out if that were to be the case. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let's talk about it there. And I'll see you tomorrow for another video. And thanks for watching this video, guys.